everything magnificent makes us feel afraid when we think of going after it. And thank God, I did the same thing. I left no stone unturned. I did everything that I could. I disciplined my mindset in every single moment of the day. And I retired at #1 in the world a year later. And I think it's so important for us, because I do think that sometimes we achieve like that massive goal and we think, oh my God, that's why I'm alive. I did it. And then we get afraid to try again. But that's exactly the moment when your soul is showing you what you're made of. It's an invitation to find out just how even more magical you are, how more powerful you are. And it's an invitation. It's not a stop. It's an invitation to keep going. And I'm so happy again that I backed myself. And each time that I've backed myself in my life, that builds up a sense of worthiness. It builds up a sense of confidence, and it builds up, your relationship with yourself, which I think is so incredibly important.
My guest, Siri Lindley, went from living in the depths of self-doubt to winning big and living fearlessly. Siri is an author, keynote speaker, animal advocate, cancer survivor, and 2-time world champion triathlete, and now the world's very best female triathlon coach. She shares the stage with Tony Robbins and is recognized as his 8 most inspirational speakers. Siri proves it's never too late to rewrite your own story and change the thoughts, habits, and behaviors that hold you back. She will help you uncover your own potential, empower you to go after your dreams, and live fearlessly authentic. All right. Well, I want to welcome on the podcast a very special guest that I know not only has inspired me, but for those listening today will absolutely be moved by this woman today. My guest, Siri Lindley, thank you for being on Passion, Love, Pursuit podcast.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Erica. Thank you for having me. And I love what you do in this world. Thank you for shining your light in the world and all that you do to help everyone become their most authentic, powerful selves. Thank you.
Yeah. And before I press record, I was saying how much I just relate to you, just you uncovering the woman that you were made to be, really, truly. So we're going to dive really deep into that. But I really just related to the struggles you've been through. Again, they're not exactly the same, but just that feeling of not being enough, and that, that why am I here? What purpose am I meant to serve? And just really wanting to fulfill that. So I'm so excited to dive really deep. But so where do we begin? So first, I guess I want to share my personal experience when I first learned about you. And that was when I attended the virtual UPW, as we were talking about, and I heard you speak, and you were just so vulnerable, so authentic. Like, you just poured out your heart. And of course, like, I know I'm not the only one that thinks this. I, of course, got tears. I'm sure a lot of people bawled. I mean, it was just so impactful because you shared your vulnerability. You shared a really tough struggle that you recently went to, and we'll talk about this. And it was just so moving. So I was like, oh my gosh, hello, she needs to be on my podcast. I know you're going to impact so many people, as you already do. So for those that don't know you yet, I would love to kind of just start by, who was Siri before you became a triathlon world champion, which is magnificent. And you're considered the top 8 speakers for Tony Robbins on his stages, which is remarkable. I'm a Tony Robbins fan, so I know people listening to this that are like, wow, yes, they probably heard you speak before too. So yeah, who was Siri before all that?
Well, first of all, thank you for your incredibly kind words. They mean the world to me. Before, my life has been an incredible journey. And I do believe that we become who we are through all kind of the tough things that we get through, and overcoming them and finding out who we really are. And I'll start, I guess, with, as a kid, you know, my parents' happiest times in my early life were the first 4 years of my life. My mom and dad were married. We didn't have much at all. We lived in like a tiny little house, but there was so much love there. And, you know, my memories are just sitting on this red velvet couch, listening to Cat Stevens, you know, wrapped in my dad's arms, and my mom cooking dinner and my sister beside me. But they got divorced, which happens to a lot of us. So no big deal. We all go through this. But my mom fell in love with this extremely famous man who was very rich, very powerful. She fell in love with him. And the first time this man walked in our door, even as a 4-year-old kid, I just felt this sense of doom and sadness and fear. And they were married for like 13 years. But early on, before they got married, he had left her for some reason. And my mom literally lost her will to want to live. And I'm only 4 years old. My sister's 6. And it led to a pretty dramatic incident where my mom tried to go. And of course, she hates that this happened now. And she's an incredibly amazing woman, my best friend now. But she tried to take her own life. And in that moment, as a 4-year-old kid, you know, I ran into her room with my sister. I heard crying. I made a decision that I wasn't enough for my mom to want to stick around for me. Oh, wow. And we make these decisions, like we all make these decisions at such a young age. And these decisions, you know, they're way outdated. But I went on, you know, after that point, I was like, everything that I am, everything that I do is so that I am enough for my mom to want to stick around, so that I am enough to make life wonderful for her. So, but they ended up getting married. They were married for 13 years. And then he asked her to get a divorce. And at this point, I'm 15 years old. And of course, that brings back what happened the last time he left. And so I went into panic mode, and literally the only thing that mattered was being everything that I could be to be enough for her. She didn't demand this of me. She didn't ask this of me. She didn't need this of me. But in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, I need to be a straight A student. I need to be the best athlete on the team. I need to go to an amazing college. I need to be by her side in every moment. And I, with all this pressure, there was so much fear and so much anxiety of losing her that I developed this ridiculous, horrible case of OCD. I'm talking like crazy person, flicking the lights on and off 1,000 times until I could get a terrible thought out of my mind, or washing my hands for 10 minutes until I could stop thinking some horrible thing. And it was time to go off to college, and I got into Brown University, which was great. Obviously, you know, the good news about all of this is that it made me an achiever, you know, like I wanted to be an achiever because I thought that's what I needed. Your
worth per se. Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. So my mom was like pushing me out the door, like, you've got to go to college, but I didn't want to leave her because I thought, what's going to happen to her when I'm not here anymore? But like I said, it was me that thought I needed to take care of her. It wasn't her asking for my help. So I went off to college. She totally, you know, just got into building her life and found her strength and her power because I was no longer hovering over her all the time. But I went to college, and I'm still dealing with this OCD, and I'm playing 3 varsity sports. And literally, like, on the outside, it looked like my life was fantastic. But on the inside, like, I truly felt like I was dying because I was terrified in my own skin, and was desperate to like get away from myself, but I couldn't. And I know a lot of people out there can probably relate to that feeling of just feeling so not safe in your own skin. And that's when Tony Robbins came into my life, because one of his first books was Unlimited Power. And I started reading this book just randomly, but it was so simple. Like, he was talking about all of our patterns of thought. And at this time, and you can totally, get this, I was thinking about everything that I feared, everything that I didn't want to have happen, everything that I had no control over, everything that was missing. And that was making me miserable and crazy and afraid. And he said, where focus goes, energy flows. And so it was a matter of me shifting my focus from, what was missing to what I had, to what I feared, to what I loved, to what I had no control over, to what I had all the control over, which this book was telling me I'm in control of my experience of life. It is up to me how I feel. And whether I'm happy or sad, whether I'm, whatever, it's up to me. And this freed me. It was so simple, but it freed me. And that's when I began this mission to kind of find out who I was, because I had no idea who I was. I only knew who I was in regards to being everything I thought I needed to be for everyone around me. And so it really was starting from scratch and saying, let's figure out who I am, what I want, what I believe in, what I want to create. And that's where this mission began. And so that's kind of well, I guess I can keep going, but I feel like I'm doing all the talking here and I want to listen to you.
That's okay. No, I think it's so important what you share, because I think a lot of people could relate to this. I think especially when we're growing up, and you remember from such a young age of where that, I'm going to call it trauma, but name it what you want to name it, that what impacted you and how it influenced your mindset, right? And what you feared and everything. So I think a lot of people could relate to going through an experience, and that develops our thoughts, our beliefs, and our story, right? The story we have for ourselves. And I just so much relate to this. I know so many people will, that who am I? Like when you're growing up, you either sometimes evolve into a peer, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it may be, or your parents, you model them or whatever. So everything outside of us when we're young influences us. And I talk about this with my boyfriend's daughter. She's 11, and I just know that it's such a vital age. I started dating when I was 11, but I had a serious relationship when I was 13 and he was 16. So imagine that age gap, 13 and 16. So imagine how much he influenced me and how I kind of molded into him. And so I just really relate to that. So I think it's so important that people understand kind of where you stemmed from, because where this goes is just dynamic. And the fact that you were able to change your mindset, that powerful statement, where your energy goes, or where your focus goes, your energy flows. It is such a simplistic thing. And that's what I love about, I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. Like I said, it's so simplistic, the things he says, that you're like, aha, and it sticks with you. Yes. Then you could actually, it trains you in a way. So going from, realizing that you needed to change your thoughts, you needed to change your beliefs, you needed to change your habits, and you really need to change your focus. What happened from there? Because to get where you got, again, I mentioned World Champion Triathlete. I know you didn't know how to swim even before that. So how did this really evolve?
Well, so I'm trying to figure out who I am. And one of the first things I discovered was that I was gay. And this was like a bomb dropping. It's like, really, Siri? Like, now we got to deal with this? Like, what? And it just happened, like a friend of mine was like, hey, I was trying to go out more and do more things and not be so afraid and trying to change my life. And I'll never forget going to this bar, and it was like all women. And I was like, oh my God, where are all the guys? Like, this is all women. And then I ended up liking the fact that it was all women, and it terrified me. And I decided, hey, I'm finding out about myself, and this is a good thing. So I'm going to embrace it. And that went on for about 2 years. And when my father found out, he called me just in floods of tears, begging me to tell him that this can't be true. He said, I can't have a daughter that's gay. I beg you, tell me this isn't true. And I backed myself. I didn't want to lie. And I said, Dad, it's true. I'm gay. And he hung up the phone and disappeared from my life for the next 2 years. And that was heartbreaking. You know, the one of the people that you look up to the most in your life is rejecting you. And it made me feel like everything that I'd accomplished, everything that I'd done in my life, it just made me feel like nothing mattered anymore because I'm gay now and therefore I am a failure. So in that heartbreak, though, came this incredible power and strength. And, you know, I believe that for all of us, when we have a dream, when we have this massive goal that seems impossible, like if you want it bad enough, if there's a deep enough reason why you must do this, you must do it. It's almost like life or death, that anything and everything is possible. And that's the place I was in. Like I was so desperate to prove to myself, most importantly, and to him and to everyone around me, that even as a gay woman, you know, I'm strong and I'm powerful. I can achieve something, you know, incredible. I can make a difference and I can be loved, most importantly, because at this time I had no love for myself and didn't feel loved by others. So I found triathlon, which is swimming, biking, and running, very soon after that phone call from my father. And I'd always been a team sport player, ice hockey, field hockey, and lacrosse. And this was like this individual pursuit where there are people of all ages, sizes, ability levels, but they were like just pushing themselves like beyond what they thought they were capable of. And I thought, what a perfect way to find me, to discover what I'm made of on my own, how strong I can be, how resilient I can be. And I fell in love with the sport. But like you said, I did not know how to swim. I could float. My mom used to, you know, swim. She didn't want to get her hair wet, so she'd do the swan, you know, with her head out of, and that's all I knew. And so my first race, like I literally humiliated myself. I was first of all, dead last, nearly drowned in the pool on the swim, got off the bike and started running with my helmet on. Like I was a disaster. But I crossed that line. I'll never forget. I was dead last. My mom was there. She had everything packed up in the car. And I had never like felt so alive in my entire life. And she's like, oh, we'll go celebrate. We'll get lunch. And I'm like, no, Mom, the awards are at 1:00. We can't leave. And she's looking at me like, the awards? Oh my God, my daughter thinks she's getting an award. I've been waiting here for like 3 hours. But we waited and I didn't get an award. And, you know, that night, I'll never forget, I was lying there. You know, at night you get so vulnerable and you start thinking about the things that, whether you embarrassed yourself or, you know, what somebody said to you. And suddenly I'm seeing everything that I didn't see during the race. And that was the people like looking at me like, oh my God, what is she even doing? Look at her. She's running with her helmet on. Oh my God, she is ridiculous. Why is she even, like, kids laughing at me? And all of this started bombarding me. And I just started to cry. Because here's something that made me feel so incredible, yet I was so bad that people were laughing at me. And I went into my mom's room and I'm crying and she looks at me and she says, honey, but you did it. I'm so proud of you. Now let's go do something that you're good at. And that was the night where I said, Mom, I am going to be the best in the world in this sport. Wow. And she looked at me like, oh my God, my poor daughter. But I meant it. And, you know, when you make a decision like that, and when you declare it to not just yourself, but to someone that means everything to you, you become accountable. And like I said, my why was so deep. Like I was so desperate to love myself, appreciate myself, prove to myself that I was safe within my own skin. And that mattered. That was like life or death for me. And I didn't care if it took me 100 years, I was going to do it. And that's when it all began.
That's so amazing. And I think that's so important for people to hear, is having that compelling why that literally gets you. Either you cry when you think about it, or you just jump up and down excited. And like you said, you come more alive. Like it's like you're lit from the inside out. So I think that's so important for people to really attach themselves to their compelling vision, whatever that may be. But the thing that's interesting is it sounds like you weren't there yet. And that's what I think is really interesting. It's not like you had this mindset that you were unstoppable, that you had what it takes to even achieve your goal. And that's what I think is so fascinating, because so many of us, myself included, we have this big audacious goal, right? This vision, and it's so exciting. We feel it in our bones, but we lack the confidence. We lack the abilities. Like you didn't have the abilities yet. All these roadblocks, if you want to say. And so I'm just curious, how did you kind of bridge that gap to even go after this audacious goal? I'm just curious, how did you get in that mindset,
And you know how some people say you have to believe in yourself first or you'll never achieve it. I didn't necessarily believe that I could, but I knew that I was going to die trying. And I knew that I was going to do whatever it took. I knew a couple things first. I needed to let go of trying to be everything I thought I needed to be for everyone around me. Like I needed to be fearlessly, authentically me, because that's where we're most powerful. That's where we can achieve our very best work. So I needed to do that. And I needed to become someone that was willing to fail, understanding that, it's through our failures, it's through our disappointments that we learn the most and we grow the most and we make the most progress. Like if you're not willing to fail, you're not willing to succeed. It's just not going to happen.
I completely agree. Oh my gosh,
so
yes.
That was a mindset I had to, and again, I look at it as letting go of stuff and then becoming someone to make this happen. And just immersing myself and leaving no stone unturned. That was always my thing that I would say to myself. I'm going to leave no stone unturned. I'm going to learn what I need to learn. I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to work harder than anyone ever could. I was working 60 hours a week to fund what I was doing. I found people to model. Like the key is, find people that have achieved what you're dreaming of achieving and do what they do. And I literally, the number one athlete in the world was a woman named McKeely Jones. And I moved to Australia to go find this athlete. I swam at her pool. We became friends. Wow. I rented a room out in her house. I copied, I ate what she ate. I recovered how she recovered. I trained how she trained. And literally, because I thought she's the best athlete in the world, if I just do what she does, it sounds a little stalkerish, but it's actually a principle that will help you achieve your dreams. And it took me to a whole new level. And ultimately to the point, when I would race with her, I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to swim on her feet. I'm going to bike, on her wheel, and on the run, I'm going to do what she does. And eventually one day in one race, it's like, oh my God, I feel really good. I think I can go. And that's when I beat her for the first time. But so I modeled the very best. And I turned pro after, I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years, which was crazy, but seriously,
super fast.
It seems fast, but I mean, actually it seems like a long time to some people, but it seemed fast to me considering where I started. Mm-hmm. But it was every single thought and action and thing that I did, I would ask myself, is this going to help me achieve this goal, or is this going to prevent me or slow me down? And I only did the things that I knew would help me achieve this goal. So I was obsessed. So 6 years later, I went to the Olympic trials and completely choked. I kind of had lost track of why I was doing this. And suddenly it had become this, I need to make money. I need to get sponsors. I need to make the Olympic team, all these things that just didn't carry this positive energy. And I moved away to Australia before the Olympic trials because I thought, I need to do this on my own. I need to prove that I don't need people around me. This is going to make me strong and tough, and this will allow me to achieve this great thing. Big mistake, because we are, as humans, we need certain things. I am a lover, I love having my family around me, my friends, my animals, support. That is what brings out the best in me. But I was trying again to be something that I wasn't, because that in my mind was a belief I had that it would take. So moved to Australia for a year, visualized the perfect rate. There's a lot of lessons in this. I hope you'll receive them.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll explain after, but every single night I would visualize the perfect race, like from start to finish, everything going perfectly and me crossing the line, winning and making the US Olympic team. Well, on the day of the race, the gun went off. I dove in the water and I got dunked under the water, kicked in the face, and the front pack was gone. I hadn't visualized this. I had only prepared for perfection. So the minute things were going wrong, like I froze and I choked, and I was literally going as hard as I could and just getting passed and passed and passed. And I quit. It's the worst feeling in the entire world. One lesson before I go on is, you know, when you want to create and manifest a big success or a victory in your life, you have to also visualize things going wrong and having a solution and finding your way through it and overcoming it and continuing on and then succeeding, which was a big thing. But the other lesson was stay true to you. You talk about authenticity all the time. It's like the biggest message I want to share in my life is that I was living inauthentically by going off on this solo mission. And that kind of disconnected me to my why. So the gift in freezing, and I was alternate on the Olympic team, which to me just didn't really feel like I made the Olympic team. But the gift in it was that I realized, I went back to, instead of thinking I'm not enough, I didn't make the team, my life is over, I thought, my God, 6 years ago, I didn't even know how to swim. And here I'm competing at the World Cup against the best athletes in the world. And I'm an alternate on the Olympic team. I am so proud of myself for being tough and never giving up and failing over and over again, but never giving up. And so my whole mindset shifted to focusing on every single race, wanting to go out there and show my gratitude to what I believe in, my God, and saying, thank you for these gifts. I'm going to use them to the utmost, and I will leave nothing behind. I'm going to throw everything I have into every single race to show my appreciation for these gifts of my mental toughness, my strength, whatever. Changed everything for me. And that's kind of when I started winning. So I hope there were some lessons there. Oh my God, I feel like I've just kept talking and talking.
No, yes, there was so much in there. And let me just pull out a couple things. Well, first of all, how you were mentioning the importance of the visualization. And I know Tony Robbins talks about this, is visualizing your success, visualizing what you're trying to create and being in that, like feeling it to your bones, of experiencing it. And I know there's power in that. A lot of people talk about it. It's a real thing that it almost becomes a part of you before it even happens, right? You have that energy within you. And I think that's super important. And then you mentioned, and actually I'm trying to remember the guest name that was on my podcast. He's a optimization coach for NBA players. And why can't I'm drawing a blank. I feel so bad, but he talked about the same thing that he does with his clients, is he walks them through not only the visualization process, but also the things that might go awry, like 2020, right? Like we visualized this amazing year, right? Everybody did. And then we obviously got knocked off our feet in some regard and we had to pivot. So we had to adjust to maybe our vision, right? And as you see, I mean, biggest proof of that is what Tony Robbins has created for UPW. And I know that he found out about this from somebody else, Pete Vargas, that first did it, this large event virtual, and it's magnificent. And it's the same, like, I know it's different to be in person, but the virtual experience was just as powerful, right? I mean, I haven't done the live in person, but I know it's powerful, the virtual. So even though it wasn't our exact vision and maybe it didn't go the way and maybe there was twists and turns, you still got there, right? And then it ended up being even more magical because you could reach more lives, all these things. So I think it's important, like you said, is not, you visualize all the things, but nothing will turn out exactly as you expected. So be able to train yourself to adjust to possibly that, that twist and turn on that road the journey you're on. So I think it's so important that people hear that. And gosh, I mean, there was so much in that, but what's just so dynamic is this mindset you built. And it seems like, as you mentioned, everything we need is within us. We just have to tap into that. We have to get rid of all the false stories we tell ourselves that we're not enough, that we're not capable, and just tap into what we are capable of and have that gratitude. I think gratitude is one of the best things you could give yourself. I think that is a way to win at life, is gratitude.
I totally agree. We're on the same page there. I've got it tattooed on my wrist, and it's the answer, I believe, to everything.
Mm-hmm. And then also the other nugget that I'll pull out, and I'm just pulling it out just to reiterate how important it is the decisions you made every day. Is it going to drive you closer to your goal, or is it going to pull you away from or step you away from your goal? So it's making those choices daily to bring us closer. And I think that so many of us have so many distractions. The world is a distraction, right? Technology has definitely made life easier and harder in some regards. So I just think that it's so important to make obviously have that compelling why, that vision, and then, work backwards and say, like, okay, what will get me to close that gap, right? So absolutely. It's so important. So I want to know, so you came to winning, like I said, World Championship, which is so amazing. Congratulations. I know this, what year was it?
That was 2001. So it seems like a lifetime ago.
Forever ago. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think in winning that, if you were to take away one big lesson from that, what do you think was the most powerful, I'm trying to get the right word, but the most powerful lesson or most powerful feeling you gained from winning that? What did that mean to you?
It meant everything to me, mostly because on that day, and I know it took a lot for me to get there, but I finally felt like this real love for myself and an appreciation for myself and a respect for myself, because I backed myself, like I took a chance on me. And I literally gave my life to this dream and took a chance on me and believed in me, and I followed through. So I now felt a love for myself. I felt a trust for myself. And like, I was ready to retire on that day because I thought, I found what I'm looking for. Mm. This is what I needed. This is what I've needed for a lifetime. But then again, in backing, I needed to back myself again, because I knew, like, we're all the most critical and judgmental of ourselves. And I knew that 3 months down the road, I may be thinking, oh, that was a fluke. I just got lucky, and I'd start questioning the fact that I was a world champion. So I knew again that I needed to back myself again and say, this isn't just a one-shot deal where I do one great thing in my life. I need to believe in myself that I have more, that there's more in here. So I vowed that I would race for one more year and hopefully win a lot more races, and then let myself retire and go into coaching, which is what I wanted to do. And that's terrifying, to take that kind of a chance on yourself, but everything magnificent is on the other side of our comfort zone, and everything magnificent makes us feel afraid when we think of going after it. And thank God, I did the same thing. I left no stone unturned. I did everything that I could. I disciplined my mindset in every single moment of the day. And I retired at #1 in the world a year later. And I think it's so important for us, because I do think that sometimes we achieve like that massive goal and we think, oh my God, that's why I'm alive. I did it. And then we get afraid to try again. But that's exactly the moment when your soul is showing you what you're made of. It's an invitation to find out just how even more magical you are, how more powerful you are. And it's an invitation. It's not a stop. It's an invitation to keep going. And I'm so happy again that I backed myself. And each time that I've backed myself in my life, that builds up a sense of worthiness. It builds up a sense of confidence, and it builds up, your relationship with yourself, which I think is so incredibly important. So yeah, the gift was, we all have proof, especially in times like now, 2020, mine was, it's been tough for all of us. It was extremely tough for me as well. In times like that, we all have to access our proof. proof of the times that we have overcome when we never thought we'd get through, proof of the times that we, achieved something that we never thought was possible. And in these times, that's when we have to access that, pull it back into our memory, hold on to that, and remember that this is who I am. I'm going to be okay. And so that whole experience for that 8 years from, setting my goal to achieving it, just taught me that you just never give up on yourself and keep overcoming, and eventually you will be victorious. And then that, throughout every experience in that time, you're getting stronger and you're finding better ways to deal with anything that comes your way. And I'm so happy for that experience, because it truly did prepare me for, what I've been going through,
what you went through
in my life. Yeah.
Yes. And, I think that's so true that some people, let's say entrepreneurs, and I'm going to pull out entrepreneurs in particular, when they succeed at this business, they make millions of dollars and they got to their goal. And then they're on the other side and they get depressed because they're like, what next? They feel like lifeless because they already achieved that. And then there isn't this next that they're, striving for it. So I really believe that we have to have, and I think Nick Santostasio, I always mess up his name. He was on my podcast as well. And he talked about how we love progress. And Tony Robbins talks about that. We love progress. So when we accomplish a goal, that's not where we stop. We have to keep, showing ourselves what we're made of and keep learning new lessons. We have to evolve. Like growth is part of life that we have to seek. If we're not evolving, then, we're dying. So
yeah, right.
It's so true. And so I would love, of course, I really want to touch on, because I think this is so important. You shared this at UPW when I listened to this, and it moved me, especially because what you shared about it. So you, like you mentioned, went through something very tough in 2020, one of the hardest things you've been through. And of course, you've been through lots of struggles in your life, as you mentioned, but this was something different. And the way you handled it was magnificent. And I want people to really just see, we've already heard what strength you have. Your will inside of you is like, it's gold, but this was like next level too, that I think so many of us, developing this real resilient mindset, this master of your mind, is something we should all strive for. It's not easy. I seek self-mastery in my life because I want to, be able to achieve anything, just like anything that knocks me to the ground. I want to be able to get up and be like, I got this, I think we all want that. So if you could share what happened, I know it's a very vulnerable share, but I know you could help so many in what you share today.
No, I'm so happy to share. It was actually almost exactly a year ago today. And I consider myself a healthy, strong. I take great care of myself. I work out every day. And I'd gone in to get a hip replacement because I trained so hard to become a world champion, and probably did it, not in a very smart way. So I needed to replace this hip. And I went in for a pre-op appointment, and they took my blood work, and I went home. And I got a message from my doctor a few days later. And he said, and I put him on speaker because I wanted my wife to hear whatever it was going to be about. And he said, you have acute myeloid leukemia, and it's complicated, and it's going to be really difficult. And my wife just had tears flooding out of her eyes. I'm standing there like in shock. My life is turning upside down. But I look at my wife, and like, I'd been searching for a love like hers for a lifetime. And now that I have it, like, she's my everything. And I saw the pain in her eyes at the thought of losing me. And I'd never felt her love so deeply. I'd never felt my love for her so deeply. And literally in that moment, and I think that this is the key thing, is when you make a decision, it's like that decision when I wanted to be the best in the world. This day, I made the most powerful decision of my life. And I said to my doctor, I said, this is not my time to go. I'm going to survive and I am going to thrive. And that decision, I declared it to my wife and I declared it to myself. And what that did is it set in motion that every single thought I had, every single action I took, every single thing that I did was with that solitary focus on surviving and thriving, no matter what people told me. And, then it became a matter of, okay, so what am I going to do? And I have so many amazing people in my life, that I love and respect. And they're saying, you should do this and you should do this and you should do this. When it comes down to this is like my life, this is like life or death, you got to listen to your gut. Okay. Amidst all the chaos, you need to find a way to check in with yourself and see what is the right thing for me to do. And I chose my path. There were 2 amazing doctors here in Denver, Colorado. The goal, I got on a clinical trial, which sounds so scary when you're talking about, your life. But I just knew that it was right. So I did this clinical trial. The goal was to put me in remission and immediately go into the hospital, have a bone marrow transplant, and pray that it sticks. But one of the things, so a couple of things here. First of all, in a time like now, 2020, there's so little certainty. There's so much uncertainty. We need to create that certainty for ourselves. So for me, I had just surrounded by uncertainty, but I knew that I needed to develop a routine that would give me some sense of certainty. Some sense that, like as an athlete, I'm leaving no stone unturned and doing everything I need to do to survive. So I started, priming every morning, a form of meditation and manifesting, seeing myself healthy, energetic, and strong and doing the things that I love. I had all these different, I did grounding and I did, working with voltage and trying to heal my body through voltage and disciplining my thoughts in every single moment to thoughts that empowered me rather than disempowered me. And I had to give this whole thing an empowering meaning. If I'd sat there and said, oh my God, why me? Why is this happening to me? That's not going to help me heal. So I thought, okay, this is happening for a reason. Maybe I'm missing something, or I need to clean up something inside of me that's going to allow me to serve this world on a much deeper level, be able to share an even more powerful message and to be able to make a difference in this world. Because for me, like my whole why is I want to be a blessing in people's lives. I want to help, inspire and empower and free people from the things that hold them back. Like I want to. And so I made this empowering meaning that God is having me go through this because I'm going to learn something and I'm going to be able to give that much more on the other side. So this routine gave me a sense of certainty and helped me be as strong as I could be going into the treatment and helped me to heal coming out of it. And I tell this story and I'm going to share it with your listeners here, but I decided to document my whole journey. And the reason being is, I think back to like when I had OCD, no one ever spoke about OCD or anxiety or fear. So I truly thought that I was the only person on the planet that suffered like this. And that made me feel so alone and so afraid and so helpless. And I thought, if I document my journey, number one, I'm going to be able to support other people going through this that feel alone. But also, like, I knew that I needed all the love and prayers that I could possibly get. And if I shared my story, and I could make a difference in someone's life, or they'd be sending me good energy, like I could use any and all energy I could get. So I started documenting everything. And this woman wrote me, and I've had to read it like 3 times over because I couldn't believe what she was saying. She said, Siri, how can you be so positive? The chances of you surviving are less than 10%.
Wow.
And my heart dropped. But then, because I was in this every thought I was, changing to empower me, and it connected me to me. And I'm like, you know what? I wrote her back and I said, I am not a statistic. I am Siri Lindley. And I've proven in the past that that the impossible is really possible, and I will prove that again. I will triumph. Boom. And I blocked her. But it was like something, it was actually a gift, because it reconnected me and reminded me of who I am. And that was so incredibly important. And it's doing things like, what can I do I needed to sweep out my soul. I thought I need to make room for healing to come through me. What could possibly get in the way of that? I need to forgive people that have hurt me. I need to forgive myself for mistakes I made or things that I didn't feel good about. I need to, forgiveness was going to be a key to opening up space for the healing to come through, and really working out anything that still caused me pain, because I thought, if I'm holding pain, emotional pain, that's going to get in the way of me healing. So I worked on all of that stuff. I created vision boards that I had all over the walls of my hospital room, and of me riding my horse and running up my favorite mountain and being with family and being on stage at Tony Robbins and all these things, like basically manifesting and visualizing the life that awaited me on the other side. Mm-hmm. And then, like I spoke about earlier, we all have proof. And had of me winning the World Championships, and I had that up on my wall as well. And that was a reminder to me, a reminder of who I am, and that I have everything that I need inside of me to triumph. And again, we all need to go and access our proof when we're struggling. But I think one last thing, because I think it's so important, in the hospital, I was just my sickest, I I'd lost like 25 pounds, and I had every machine hooked up to me, and I felt so sick and so weak. But when I would focus on that, when I think about, oh, how weak I feel, or how sick I feel, or how scared I am, I thought, this is not helping me heal. So I acknowledge that, and I'm going to love you through that. But no, let's shift our focus, change the channel to gratitude. Okay, we spoke about how powerful gratitude is. And, my mom had slept in the hospital for 30 nights on the couch. My wife had never left my side, these amazing doctors. My sister was one of my donors. I'd go to gratitude. I'm so grateful for these people that are saving my life. And gratitude would give me energy. Gratitude would give me hope. Gratitude would shift my energy to an energy that I knew was going to help me heal. But this happened over and over. We all think that once we know the strategy of thinking positively or changing your focus and changing the meaning of things, sometimes we think, oh, well, now that I know that, it's just going to happen. And it's not going to just happen. It's a discipline. You build that muscle. And in every moment, I would change my focus to something that empowered me, the meaning of everything. I got pneumonia. And instead of saying, oh my God, this is horrible, now I may die, even more or whatever. But I would say, okay, I'm trying to do too much. The pneumonia showed up because it's meant to slow me down a little bit, and that's going to help me heal. So reframing everything, but it's a constant discipline. But in every aspect of our lives, when we truly do discipline our focus, or find an empowering meaning, and act upon those good thoughts that create good feelings, we will get to where we want to go no matter what. And 6 months after I'm now almost 9 months post bone marrow transplant, but at 6 months, my doctor called and said that I'm cancer free and I get to live. So, wow,
so crazy.
Life is a miracle, and life is magical. And we have to, number one, treat our bodies like the luxury vehicle that they are, not treat them like a rental car and, beat the crap out of them. Because without your health, you have nothing. So I encourage everyone listening, make your health a priority. It's so incredibly important. And I found a beautiful gift in what happened. I do realize now why I went through this. And I think one of the main things is that I had always been such a giver, just giving and giving and giving, and really found it hard to receive anything in return. But cancer gives you no choice. You reach a point where eventually you have to be taken care of and you have to receive. And that gave joy to my mom to be there for me. It gave joy to my wife to be able to help me. It gave joy to the doctor to save my life. Now that I am able to receive and receive love from myself as well, loving myself through those tough moments where I wasn't at my best, but I loved myself through it. Now that I know how to receive, I can truly give at a much higher level. Because for those of us that just give and give and give, we eventually are going to run out. But when you have this constant flow of receiving and giving and receiving and giving, you're constantly filled up and you have so much more to give. And that's the gift here, is that I now can give so much more than I ever could have before. And I'm so deeply grateful. And I know how loved I am. And I know well, maybe it doesn't sound crazy, because I think a lot of us feel sometimes like we love so much more than we are loved. But this proved to me in every way that I am so loved by my family and the people around me. And that was an incredible gift. So I'm so grateful, Erica. I'm alive. I'm getting stronger and healthier every day. And I just feel so deeply grateful. So thank you.
It just warms. Yes. I mean, that warms my heart. Like, I want to give you a big hug. It is so powerful. I mean, everything you shared, I think, it's hard to keep that positive mindset when you're struggling through things, and people could really relate to this. It's really hard. I've seen so many people struggle to find positivity in a situation that is so traumatic, but it's there. It's always there. There's always something to be grateful for. And I remember when I was doing the priming exercise for the first time, which you could look this up on YouTube, Tony Robbins priming. It's really powerful. But I remember the first time I did it, and that first step is visualizing something you accomplished, something that was really impactful in your life. And I remember there was something I accomplished. It was a vision, and seemed impossible because it was this fundraiser that literally, it was for the Woolsey fire in Malibu, and the fires that swept all across the West Coast. It was a week before Thanksgiving. I remember thinking, I'm totally going off subject for a second, but hear me out. So I remember thinking, how amazing would it be, all these people that don't have homes for Thanksgiving, to provide them a place to gather together in community, in one place, to just love on each other, right? To just be together, if it's in sorrow or whatever it may be, just to be together and love in a place to call home for at least Thanksgiving, right? So it was a week before Thanksgiving, and I just had this idea to put this fundraiser together. I literally the night before thought that we would be like, meaning the people that were putting this together with me, there was like 7 or 10 of us. I'm like, what if we're just the only ones showing up? Come to find out, over 750 people showed up. We donated so much clothes. The newscast was there, every news station. We provided, I have no idea how many meals, but it was just like, what? My vision came to life. How is that possible? So anyways, I'm going totally off subject, but what I'm trying to say is, like, when you visualize the experiences you've been through and actually remembering like how good that felt, how strong I was, how I accomplished that, it gives you this energy that pushes you forward to the next day. And, I think that is just so amazing. And then also the other thing you mentioned, I think it's really important. And I think a lot of people are learning more about this today. And that's why meditation is proven. The effects of it is, like you said, cleaning your soul. You kind of looked at yourself and like, what needs to get out of my body? What toxicity, what stress, what am I holding? Like, what's on my shoulders, that weight I'm holding? And I think a lot of people haven't released, like, forgiving somebody, haven't released their hate they had for somebody or whatever happened to them. They're just holding that on their shoulders or inside their body. And that's why, what is that called? It's like a release of your what you're holding tension in your body. I forgot what it's called, the method. Oh, somatic healing.
Yes.
And I've heard it's extremely effective. And the reason why is we hold so much in our body. So the fact that you realize that is really remarkable. And I don't think people know the power of that, that all these stresses, all these things that we are, not forgiving somebody or whatever, it needs to be released because that is literally bound in your body. So I think that really made an impact in your life. And I know it cut out for a quick second. You said you had something hung on the wall that was a reminder. What was that?
A poster of me winning the World Championships, because that was basically me making the impossible possible. And that it connected me to my identity, who I am, and reminded me and all of us have everything we need inside of us I knew I had everything I needed inside of me to triumph here, but we all have everything we need inside of us to achieve anything we dream of. It's a matter of believing in that and allowing that to come forward. And I think the part about cleaning out your soul and forgiveness, forgiving yourself, forgiving others, it's crazy because it was in that moment or in that time where, my life is hanging by a thread to a certain extent. And these messages just kind of came to me, like I need to release any emotional pain that's inside of me, and I had this visual of the healing coming through me. So if we start doing that now, everybody, start healing those things, start letting go of that emotional baggage or that pain that or resentment that you've been carrying around. Do that now. Don't wait to get to a point where you're sick or injured or whatever it is. Like, do that now. That is the right thing to do for you and for your health and for your wellness and longevity.
As you say, our health is everything. If we don't have that, we have nothing. And I truly believe that. And that's one thing that I'm really wanting to share is how important it is to take care of this home we live in, our body. Because like you said, you were doing all the things, you worked out all the time, you ate right, you had this great mindset, but still something happened. Who knows why, but it did. I do believe there's a lesson for everything in life. If we look for it, we will find it. And usually we'll find that it served us in some way to get us closer to whatever it may be. And the lesson you learned in this was so beautiful, because I think so many people, and especially probably athletes, I imagine, have a hard time receiving, because they're like, I could do this, I could do anything, I could do this on my own. And until you're in that position where you need help, then you're like, oh, I have no choice. So it's such a beautiful lesson you learn from that. And who would have thought, I'm just so happy you shared that story, because there's so much power in that. And I'm just curious, because I know you said you led into life coaching, and I know you're one of the best elite coaches there are, and you talk on Tony Robbins stage, but what's next for you? What do you envision? What goal are you going after right now?
Well, the biggest goal is just being able to give as much as I can to the world around me, and whatever, everything that I've been through. I know that there are messages that can hopefully inspire, empower, or free people. I want to do more of that in any way that I can, whether that's in speaking or, I have my Seriously Authentic Squad where I'm coaching people and coaching my athletes, which I still do. I coach some extraordinary athletes that are, world champions, and I want to see them not just achieve their dreams, but even more importantly, just become the humans that I know they're capable of becoming. And my wife and I, we run a horse rescue, and we save horses from slaughter. It's a brutal, horrible practice, disgusting. And my horse, when I rescued her about 4 years ago, just changed my life. Like it took me to all new levels of self-discovery, and I found a bravery and a courage that I never even knew existed inside of me, which came in handy, this past year. But horses are incredible healers, and equine therapy is kind of a huge thing in the country now, where they're helping people heal from PTSD and addiction, and kids with disabilities they're doing amazing things with. So in saving horses, it comes full circle, because these horses end up saving humans.
Saving you.
And this is a huge part of my mission as well, is continuing that work, because that's another way of helping humans, kind of release the stuff that brings them unhappiness and fear and anxiety, and helping them really claim their magic and step into their power and live the lives that they dream of living,
So amazing. And what is the horse rescue called?
It's called Believe Ranch and Rescue. We're in Colorado. We've saved 123 horses in 3.5 years. And many of them have gone on to equine therapy clinics or equine therapy ranches around the country. And just the success stories are heartwarming and amazing. So check us out. It's a beautiful thing, I feel, that these horses are doing, and I guess that we're doing. So we feel very privileged to have the opportunity to do this and have some great support.
Thank you for everything you're doing. And can you tell us a little bit about your course? It's a mini course called Fearlessly Authentic, which I love, because I would love if people, I'm sure many will want to hear a lot more from you and learn your strength and your resilient mindset. It's just remarkable. So I'd love to hear what it is. It sounds so good.
Erica, first of all, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it so much. The Fearlessly Authentic course, that's kind of a smaller thing. I started doing these bedhead chronicles, where I'd get out of bed and I used to have this huge bedhead, and I would just share my thoughts on the day. And people really seem to like that. So the Fearlessly Authentic series comes from those bedhead chronicles. And that's just a free something that, anybody can sign up for. I also run, it's called the Seriously Authentic Squad, which is kind of, it's a group of 25 people. We come together, and it's, bringing each other to all new levels of joy and fulfillment and success in our lives, and kind of sharing my philosophies on life, and overcoming the things that get in the way. And it's just my way of wanting, again, to share and hopefully be able to make a difference in other people's lives, and help them propel themselves, to the heights that we're all so capable of. And most importantly, that ultimate joy and fulfillment in our lives is there for all of us. And it's up to us and our mindset and what we focus on to achieve that. And so, I would love to have any of you join. Erica, I'd love you to be there. Oh my God, I'd be so excited.
Oh my gosh, I want to find out more. This is just so remarkable. I could talk to you I just want your energy. I just want your knowledge.
You too, girl.
It's remarkable. And I know there's so many nuggets in here, and just to hear your wisdom and your challenges, your vulnerability, your heart, and how much you give, and just so you are impacting thousands of people. And I want you to receive that. Like, you are truly, you impacted me when I listened to you, and just this conversation. I think I'm getting teared up.
I'm getting teared up too.
I literally,
thank you.
I literally have interviewed so many amazing people, and I feel like I always say, oh, that was the most amazing interview. This guest is so amazing, but I truly, this guest was just so powerful. And I think so many people will gain so much from this, and people need it right now. So everybody go follow Siri Lindley, go check out her website. She has a book that was released in 2016 called Surfacing. You could still get it now. And she, of course, has another book in her, which I'm sure she'll have many. You could hear her on stages, like I said, Tony Robbins, UPW, Date with Destiny. She's amazing, as you could tell. I'm so grateful, Siri. Thank you so much for your time. It's been
Eric,
such an honor.
thank you so much. You're such a gift to me, such a gift to this world. So thank you for allowing me the joy of being able to be with you today. You're extraordinary. Thank you.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you.